Hey everybody, I decided that I think in the last video I mentioned in the DC5, the Dave Clark 5 collection, that I was going to start showing my vinyl collection. So I figured why not, I shouldn't say start because technically my last video I started, but I figured why not dig into the Beatles now. So here we go. The Beatles 6. This is a mono pressing. And it also has the C label for correct playing order. The Beatles 6 again. This is a later press, I think 1968. Stereo pressing with the correct playing order. I've always liked this cover. So someday I'll have a better mono copy, but that one is pretty good for now. Especially because a lot of these I got before the big Beatle boom. When records were cheap. The Beatles Rubber Soul in the shrink. You're going to hear me saying that a lot because I love the Beatles in shrink wrap. So, once it focuses, this is a first pressing mono copy without the Beatles mentioned. It's in fantastic shape. And just a great album. If you've been following me for a long time, you know that the American is my favorite. Another U.S. press of Rubber Soul in the shrink. This is a stereo press, second pressing. This also has the false starts on I'm Looking Through You, which is kind of cool. You know, I've had this album since I started collecting. Found it at an antique shop. So a lot of these, if you want to hear the stories, you know what, I'm just going to tell you the stories because I've got time. These will be updates. This album just has really good memories for me. You know, just kind of getting into the record and the Beatle phase. This album came along, and now going on almost 15 years I've had this, and I just remember playing this, and I've Just Seen a Face is the opening track for the American one, and I just fell in love with this album. So the Beatles 65, beautiful cover here. I love the umbrellas. It's a nice photo shoot. This is a mono copy. Whenever I'm out, I never see a later pressing of this. I always or stereo, I always see a mono copy. What I wouldn't give to have a stereo copy, just because I never see it. Alright, the Beatles Help. Now, I remember when we were on vacation, we just kind of took it here, around here. Followed the antique trail, stayed in a hotel, went to a big antique shop that's in Salamanca. And this lady's no longer open anymore. I got the Rubber Soul there too. This was there. And I've had this one ever since. And when an upgrade comes along, I'll probably still keep this one just because it is one of my early copies. Excuse me. I started collecting. So get this back in. There we go. Hello again. The early Beatles. Okay, so this is a 69 lime green. I call them lime green pressing, which I love these. Very collectible, in my opinion. I'm not saying they're worth a fortune, but I do have a couple of these. The early Beatles stereo. Now, when I got this one at Avon Flea Market, this had the shrink on it, but someone had taped it. And it just looked, over the years, the tape yellowed, and so I took it off. It's one of the rare times that I take the shrink off, but look at that. It's just really a nice copy of the early Beatles. Actually, this one needs a little cleaning. It's been a while since I've listened to this one. The early Beatles mono. One of my early collection. I don't think I've upgraded this one, but it's not bad. I like spotless, but someday the right one will come along. This one was actually supposed to be in a Beatles update, but I'll show you anyway. This is a stereo copy of the Beatles' A Hard Day's Night. This came in with a batch of records just recently, in my past videos actually, but it's still pretty recent. This is a 1968 pressing, which I've been wanting one of these because I really like the label. So there's the label. So there's that. And when I say I need upgrades, the lowest I have a Beatles vinyl, like the grade wise, is like, BG plus. I don't keep any that's like in fair condition unless it's extremely rare. Alright, the Beatles' A Hard Day's Night. This is one of the first 3 albums I ever bought. The other ones were early on in my collection, but these were the first 3 that I ever bought with my money. So I want to say, maybe, I don't know, it was a long time ago. Anyway, it's at an antique shop in Lima, New York. So this one's in partial shrink. I've just always left it. And it has, this is a mono copy. And it has I cry instead, when it should be I'll cry instead. So, and this one's actually in really nice shape. I shouldn't be complaining. Like I said, the lowest one's probably PG plus. But I'm very, I'm always wanting to upgrade my my Beatles collection. I don't know. I guess I'll put that in later. I got this one in Vermont, and this is the Beatles' Something New in the Shrink mono. And when we were there, I just love the condition of this. This is how I want to buy Beatle albums. The Beatles' second album. This was, I'm not sure if this is one in the lot of 3 albums that I first bought ever. Like I was telling you, in that antique place. So, the Beatles story. This is a Capital Mono rainbow label. I have another copy too. I think it's on Apple. Thrift store find here. It's very rare that you ever see one this nice at a thrift store. My dad picked it up for me. Just a beautiful cover. Sleeve. Someone took very, very good care of this stereo pressing of Meet the Beatles. I mean, it's just glorious. Just listened to this a couple nights ago. And the last one in the first three that I ever bought was this Meet the Beatles. I've had this since I started 15 years ago. Need an upgrade of this one. I actually lied. This one might be a little bit lower than VG Plus. But that's something I guess I should upgrade. I've been wanting to, but the price on a nice mono copy of Meet the Beatles is a little ridiculous. My father's record introducing the Beatles. Oh Lord, how I wish this was a real one. Because, you know, the cover looks good. Back looks good. And then when you get into the record, you know, it's on real flimsy vinyl, and the Beatles are below the brackets. So, but, gotta keep it. It's my father's. My sister actually was a Beatles fan. She's a bit older, but she put the pinholes in this and hung it on the wall. So I always remember this album hanging on the wall growing up. So, but now I have it. Introducing the Beatles. Now this is an original mono. Please Please Me and Ask Me Why. And I'm very happy that this copy has the sleeve in it. Whenever I get these, they're white sleeve, but it's really cool to have the VJ sleeve. And I just listened to this one a few days ago. Now, you can't, it's just beautiful. Beatles above the spindle. Pretty copy. Just gorgeous. This was a beater that was given to me. It's beat. But I've just had it in the collection. There's this Songs, Pictures, and Stories of the Fabulous Beatles on BJ. Beatle Brad just showed a very nice copy of his. Mine's falling out here. It's just one that I just have clung on to. So, see, it's pretty beat, but I just didn't want to get rid of it. So I technically lied. I do have a few beat up albums, but I think I did say if there were ones that were hard to come by, I've just kept them. But they're not ones that ever see the turntable. Jolly What? The Beatles and Frank Ifield. Actually, because I'm colorblind, I cannot tell if this is an original or not. But it was in the dollar bin years ago, and I just picked it up. It's not in anywhere near something I would play. Look at that. But still neat. But like I said, this has never seen a turntable. I've never played this album just because I know it's beat. But still, it's just like a filler. And this is a Dunhill pressing of the Hear the Beatles Tell All. And the Amazing Beatles. This is on, what is that, Clarion. I think my uncle has this in the shrink, but so that's it for the first video. I know it's not super amazing stuff because it did show some ones that were kind of beat up, but they're still part of the collection and fillers until I find better copies. But I just haven't had the heart to get rid of them, especially because, you know, 2 of them are on VJ. So, well, that's it for part 1. So stay tuned. I hope you don't mind me babbling on like this and telling stories and where they came from. It just pops in my head because it brings back memories. So, all right, take it easy. Peace.